Hi guys, and welcome to GeeK Talk, where we talk deep and geek about all things synthesizer, piano, and geeky related keyboard stuff. Special guest, I'm so flattered to be here with Rich from Mesh.
Yeah, good to have you here.
And he's allowed us to commandeer his studio for the day. Well, not commandeer, but just to come and have a look at his setup. And on this episode of GeeK Talk, we're going to be talking GeeK. Mesh style. So, Richard, this is quite an impressive setup you've got here. Yeah. But before we sort of run through everything, I'd like to want to speak to you guys about your process. And of course, there are so many different ways of doing things. But I've noticed you guys are using, is it Cubase?
Yeah, we use Cubase 10, which is obviously the most kind of up to date version. We've used several different kind of methods throughout the years. I mean, originally, right back in the very, very beginning, we all used different systems. I used to use a thing called a UMI or UMI,
which BBC,
the BBC, unbelievable, yeah. And it was brilliant. It was really, really tight kind of sequencing package, and we used that. And Mark was using this other system called Dr. T. And it was just, honestly, it was ridiculous because we would all write, but then every time we'd actually kind of get in the studio, we'd have to take out a computer system, put in another computer system. So we kind of gravitated towards kind of Cubase and been using it ever since. So.
Well, it's funny how much easier things have gotten, and you're obviously from the days where things were done in the difficult way, and you've so I always talk on the GeeK Talk series how a lot of the younger producers, they don't realize how easy it is. Because I think you and myself, we'd have an appreciation, like when we pull something up, we'll go, wow, that was easy. But I think the guys who just got into music now don't realize how much technology has made things easier.
Yeah, definitely. I thought certainly things like sampling and time stretching and things like this. And you get loops now and you just drop them in and away they go. They're perfectly synced up. Whereas back then, that's sounding really old, but we used to have to spend hours trying to kind of trim them, get them to the right tempos. So I mean it was good background. I kind of feel like that was my apprenticeship, you know what I mean? So now I understand and I appreciate all this. And it just makes the workflow so much better. But you have an understanding of how it used to be, and I still like that. I still like samplers. I still like certainly in the last couple of albums we've gone back to the old school sampling because I kind of like the tonal qualities of it. So
because I said I was saying when I came in, Rich, I see you've got an Emax there, and I've talked to my channel how I've talked about this the old Emax 2, but I've never actually. This is the first time I've seen an Emax, and I was amazed to see the feel of it. How it's just got such a nice key bed. But anyway, we'll come into all the individual keyboards and stuff in general. But I see, I don't want to say you're a gear slut, but you seem to like your gear. You've got quite a bit of hardware here. But obviously, when you're writing a song, you will obviously use what is needed. But do you tend to favor hardware over software, or is it whatever?
Over the years, I can honestly say I think it's a combination of both that makes it really good. Okay. I mean, yes, all the kind of plugins nowadays are immensely good compared to what they used to be, and they do sound very, very good. But I still like the hands-on approach of using some old equipment. I like being able to switch something on and write an 8-note sequence and drop it in and record it. And I mean, that's just kind of how we worked. And as for the amount of gear we've got, I think over the years it's been fine-tuned to you keep what's needed. We've had loads of stuff, all different types of, modular synths and bits and pieces. And, I've got surrounding me now is what I tend to use, if you know what I mean. So, but it's just kind of the way we've kind of learnt to work, if you like.
Yes, as I say, over the years you've obviously got things, but what you say, what you've got here is it's not all for show. You absolutely use everything within the workflow.
Yeah, a good 90% of it. And I think that a really good tip for anybody is to move your studio around. every so often, because
okay.
I tend to kind of, because it's kind of local to where I am,
Yeah.
I might use this. And then, if you moved something, you might use that, if you know what I mean.
Yes,
so
yes,
it's quite nice to move things around every so often and kind of wire it in a different way. So you get kind of inspiration from other bits of equipment that you've probably not used for a long time. So.
Yeah, that's true. Like sometimes they say you've got to change the furniture in your house, but there we go, guys. That's a top tip. We'll call it mesh top tips at the end. So, Richard, obviously you've got quite a large palette of things to go to. Is there anything that you can't? What is your favorite synth that you find you're using on anything? What's your go-to synth, if there is?
I think my possibly all-time kind of favorite as a workhorse. I don't say it's the best thing ever, but as a tonal kind of thing and easy to use, I really like the Axis Virus.
Oh, the Axis Virus, absolutely.
It's an amazing bit of kit, and it's been used to death on our albums. You know what I mean? I really do like it. So yeah, that's one of them. I've got a Pro One. I use that forever. I've always used it. It's so good for, like I said, the little sequency kind of type things. And the same with the SH-101. I really still kind of go to that quite regularly, So
I think as I said, I've just done a talk on Vince Clarke recently, and Vince Clarke, I think his favorite synthesizer for all time is the Pro One as well, because it's very good for percussive sounds. Got a very fast envelope, and anyway, that's just geeky stuff. But
it was through being a fan of Yazoo when I was a kid.
A big Yazoo fan.
I had this magazine. It was called Testing 1-2.
Okay.
And it had a review of all the synthesizers of that day, you know what I mean?
Right.
And there was a thing in there with Vince Clarke talking about the Pro One.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, this is the synth I need, you know what I mean? And that's why I bought a synth back in when I was youngster or just left school. That was my first go-to keyboard.
Well, so you've mentioned Vince Clarke. So what other sort of synth pioneers or gurus were sort of influenced you?
I mean, it was all those kind of bands around that time, I think. I mean, I've been asked this question a lot, and sometimes I think probably my earliest recollection of electronic music was the Doctor Who theme tune.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? It was so just odd, and it was really good. And then people like Gary Newman came along, and I was absolutely blown away. That I was never a really big fan of Gary Newman, but the singles at the time were amazing. And then OMD. Depeche Mode, obviously, and I think Yazoo was a real kind of I don't know, turning point for me. It was the fact that it had this kind of warmth, it had this kind of proper songs.
Yes.
And although it was very plinky plonky and simple, it had this fantastic atmosphere.
Yes.
And that's what really got me into wanting to try and make music. So.
Oh, I see. Yes, because Yazoo did have, and it was different at the time because Yazoo had that. That synthesized sound, but then along comes this massive soulful voice, which kind of really, made it stand out.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So, Richard, as I say, I'm sure we could speak geek for days on end, but of course, I'm sure people there have got a time limit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk around and we're going to look at all the individual pieces of gear, and you talk us through it. Yep. Okay, Richard, we're on the hands-free now. So let's start off with this Emax 2. Now, as I said, guys, I've always talked about this on the channel, and this is the ones that Depeche Mode used throughout this is the Emax 2. When did that come out? Which year was that? It was the later one. It was
kind of the sort of mid-90s, maybe 93, 94, somewhere around that kind of period, I think.
So that would have been the one I think Depeche Mode would have used probably in devotional. But as I say, I was just so intrigued to see it because I've never actually seen one in real life before. So it's thank you for that, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is the kind of not the first sampler I had. I had an Ensoniq Mirage first, and then I had a Roland D50. But this, to me, was like the sampler to have. It just sounds fantastic, and it still sounds really good today. The filters on it, and I don't know, just the kind of the way the whole thing's processed, it still sounds brilliant. And all our early albums, and even up to the last couple, we've always used it. So just these are all samples we created at the time.
Those are the samples you created?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the time it was just sampling, analog synths and kind of distorting them and then chopping them up and using the kind of samples to kind of get that kind of grainy, gritty sound. So.
Sure. But you did say that you're coming back to the Emacs and using it a lot now. Is that right?
I wouldn't say a lot, but I certainly gone back to it and used it again.
Just
and,
for certain textures and stuff. Yeah,
just for the same reason. It just because it sounds great. We would still put maybe a small sequence or something like that, and then filter it and just kind of manipulate the sound a bit in there, and then record it back off into kind of Cubase.
Okay.
But it's just a really good piece of kit, and I wouldn't get rid of it now. So.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I'm just looking at your monitors there. So you've got the KRK rockets. Those are the biggest rockets I've ever seen. And you've got the NS10. So the rockets are obviously because the NS10's industry standard.
Yeah.
And you need the rockets for that bottom end.
Yeah.
And then what have you got in there? Is that your mixing?
Yeah, I got the mixer kind of up there.
Okay.
I don't particularly need it up there, but it's just kind of nice. It's the fact that it's spread across 3 monitors. Rather than keep clicking on different kind of pages, it's all there, and you can kind of see your kind of workflow and all that kind of thing. So, and
the way you've got it laid out, Rich, it's very sort of intuitive, and as I was saying when I came in here, it's a really, really tidy. It's it almost looks like a show studio. I'm surprised Sound on Sound haven't been on here yet to give you an interview. Yeah. They probably will after this.
Maybe.
But now just moving on to, I see you've got your mixing desk here. Is that a Mackie?
Yeah.
24x8, yes, that's right, yeah.
We used to use this completely all the time. It was the kind of the go-to mixer at the time, and we have got the extension, so we used to have like a 48 channel desk back in the days when you used to have to kind of mix properly, but across the desk.
Yeah.
Obviously it's all done in the kind of computer nowadays. So,
that's right, yes.
This is I've kept this. It's probably the most underused bit of kit in the studio now. I literally just use 2 channels for monitoring. So
it always looks impressive though.
For that reason, it had to stay, didn't it?
and it's always funny because whenever people who aren't musicians come into a studio, they look at it and they go, oh, that's impressive. Yeah. They always look for the mixing desk, and little do they realise they're hardly used anymore. I see on the monitor left there, I see you've got your Cubase, so that's just your sequencer. And guys, I was very privy and very excited to hear that a song that Mesh are working on, which I heard first. And what you got on there? Is that just your patches?
These are just kind of like
Nexus
drum samples and things. So.
Nexus, the groove agent there. Yeah. Okay, so that's the way you like to work. I see you've got your sequencer on the middle screen there, and then you've got your mixing up there.
Yeah.
And you've got the right hand what you use for like your patches and stuff. So it's really, and you've personalized. I see you've got the machine over there.
Yeah.
Machine.
Yeah, this is something we kind of used on the last couple of albums. It was just, again, it was just to try and find something a little bit different in the way we would program and record. And it's really interesting, actually. It's a bit like old school sampling again.
Yeah.
So you can drop things in and just manipulate them, cut them up. But it's also very good for kind of almost like writing different chords. I mean, I'm not the best musician come keyboard player or whatever, but I know what sounds good to my ears. You know what I mean? So occasionally you can drop sounds in it and just find these different chords, and it's a good means of putting chords together, you know what I mean, to write songs.
A good way to sometimes accidentally stumble across things.
Yeah, and it quite literally is accidentally. I don't know what I'm playing, but it sounds good, if you know what I mean. So yeah. And
that's interesting. Well, having a career since 1991, you've managed to pull it off. You've done okay. And Rich, do you sometimes find you need to sort of like mix your workflow up? Because I think we can kind of become complacent with the way we work. So how do you keep things fresh with each album? Do you guys sort of like?
I mean, there's never really a plan, and I've said this so many times. We never sit down and say, right, this album needs to be this.
Yeah.
But I think the way the kind of technology goes and maybe the equipment might steer you in a slightly different direction.
Sure.
And I do kind of like to get some new bits of equipment when you start a new album.
Sure.
And certainly with the kind of plugins and things of today, that's quite easily accessible to get something new that might inspire you. There's a plugin called Omnisphere.
Oh yes, absolutely.
It's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Omnisphere 2, that is all over Gary Newman's.
Yes, it is.
And what I love about Gary Newman as well is he's quite open to that, because I think people like to think he's using these analog synths. And I think much like yourself and even my humble self, he doesn't sort of make a big bullshit about his knowledge of synthesis. He kind of just he's quite sort of humble about how he stumbles across things. Right, let's just look behind you there. So you've got the Roland. That's the Juno G.
Yeah.
Remind me which one that was again.
The not very good one.
The not very good one.
I don't tend to use this a lot. It's just there as almost like a second controller, or for bashing out ideas. Sound wise, I think the thing is with Roland keyboards of late, they all sound great, but they all sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like that. As much as I kind of used it, it's like a trumpet sounds very similar to a string sound in the same kind of quality. So
so I suppose so. And I think Roland were always at the top of their game, and they still are, I believe. But I think it's a lot of other synthesizer companies have caught up.
Yes.
And I think it's definitely names like and I can just say, guys, for the record now, we're not endorsing any products, as you can clearly see. But I mean, if we look at like the Access Virus now, which for instance is, as you say, you've used on most of the Mesh albums. Mm-hmm. If we can go over to before we go to that quick, what is this one over here? Is this a controller?
This is just literally a controller.
Controller.
We've got quite a few of these because they're like a kind of tank basically. And they've been around Europe, they've been smashed up, they've been dropped, but they've always worked. So
and that's a CME, yeah.
CME, yeah.
And you use those on stage, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's got quite a very nice keyboard actually. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This. Yeah. Okay. Right. So I'm going to go into your rack here.
Okay.
I see you've got let's start at the top there. What is that? It's a Yamaha TG55.
Yeah. In the very, very early days, I got one of these, and I used it to death. It's okay. It's not brilliant. It's old now, but I've kept it because a lot of the sounds we used back then was from this. So if I have to recreate them in a live setup, I've obviously still got it to kind of do that.
That's good. I see there's our Access Virus.
Yep.
I had that one in the keyboard form. Is that the TI? The TI, yes. Yeah. But I think that is the newer TI because I had the older TI.
And I did have
TI2,
a B, a Virus B.
Virus B.
I regret selling it because it was really, really good.
I see you've got the Korg TR rack. Oh, that's the old Trinity.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, the thing is, even though some of the sounds are dated in there, it's the combination of having the different types of synthesis and the different flavors.
I really still like the string sounds and just standard piano sounds are very good on this. So I've always kept it for that reason. Although my display is dying.
What you got under there? That's a tone generator. Yes.
Yeah. And that's very, very well. Obviously, it is FM, and it's very good for kind of underlining bass sounds, and it's very clicky sounding. So I use that a fair bit. So that's cool.
Vintage Keys classic analog keyboards. Was that like?
Yeah, I mean
Fender Rhodes and things like that.
Kind of, and old analog keyboards, and it's very good for kind of those washy string sounds. And so I've kept it for that very reason. Okay.
Well, like I see, onto the Nord Lead 2 there, I see.
Yes, I absolutely love this piece of kit.
Do you? Okay.
It is so clicky, and I use it so much for kind of bass sounds.
Okay.
Or if it's not the actual kind of subs bit of the bass, it's the very percussive top end.
I see.
It's amazing. I absolutely love it for that. So I used it, nearly on, I don't know, maybe the last 3 or 4 albums, and it's still always used now. So that's really cool. And
on just coming back to your keyboards now, when you play live, do you usually just take controllers on stage? You don't actually take keyboards?
Yes. We never used to in the beginning, but it got to a point where we was travelling so much. The only way to do it would be to take main stage on a laptop. And then use a controller keyboard. So you've always got your sounds. You just take controllers, and
you don't run the risk of destroying an expensive keyboard.
No, and I do use Machina Live as well. I've got that on to one side so that you can kind of hit sequences live, and it's just, I don't know. It just looks good. And it's just a kind of hands-on, expressive bit of kit on stage, if you like.
Absolutely. So. Okay, let's move on to what's that beneath there?
This is the new, it's not that new, but it's the Sequential Pro 2.
Oh,
because having a Pro 1, I really wanted one of these. And to be honest, I haven't really got to kind of the bottom of it. I've used it a little bit, but not anywhere near its potential, because I think it does sound really cool.
And that's the newer, and that's the newer version, but you're sort of more obviously familiar with the older one.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, what I've never... Grandmother.
Yeah, it's just kind of semi-modular Moog, I should say. Yeah. So again, I haven't had that long, really. I've probably had it about a year.
Okay.
So I haven't really got to grips with it just yet, but it's something that's quite inspirational and kind of new to me. So
I see.
So that's really cool.
Okay, moving on to the right of that, I see you've got another Mother 32. Are they linked?
Yeah, this is just a kind of single oscillator kind of synthesizer in a kind of modular form.
Okay.
But then this is the D-Fam. This is the drummer from another mother.
The drummer from another mother.
It's absolutely amazing. I love it. It's got that kind of horrible, gritty, distorted quality.
Absolutely.
And it basically is just an analog drum machine that you can tune and mess around with. And it sounds fantastic. Really, really cool.
I'll take your word for it. I say you've got some... I mean, I've never seen... I've seen these in magazines and stuff, but to actually see them in real is fantastic. Oh, good. XP30, I used to have one of these. It's basically all the XP sounds, the JV sounds, and includes all the sort of like bread and butter Roland sounds.
We bought this just before we made Who Watches Over Me, and then I expanded it. I've got the 2 cards in there. I've got the dance card, and I think it's the vocal card.
Okay.
And a lot of the loops on Who Watches Over Me were from this, because they were really fantastic, kind of big sounding loops. We chopped them up and used them, and a lot of the sounds from that album was was from this keyboard. Right. But I've still got it. I don't use it anywhere near as much as I should do now, but it's still here. And
I think a lot of people have those in their studios. The sort of like the JV 1080s, 2080s, the 3080s, the XV5080s. God, I sound like a Roland. But just for the sort of bread and butter sounds. And I do have a Roland Integra 7, which is really like almost like the Roland's greatest hits. Which is all Roland sounds in one box. Yeah. But anyway, coming back to now, as I said, you said you weren't a big fan of the Roland Juno G, but let's go back to let's let Roland redeem itself with a good old classic SH101.
Yes, this is an amazing bit of kit. I love these things. They're just so cool for putting, like I said, little sequences in, and I've got it synced up with Cubase, so you just put an 8-note sequence in or whatever, and it's just so. I don't know, it just feels so kind of hands-on, and that's what I like about it.
You see, Roland, Rich has got nothing against you guys. He's just very brutally honest.
Just the new stuff.
Just the new stuff. All right, great. So let's go. There we go. That's the Pro One. And as I said, I did a talk on Vince Clarke from Erasure last week, and Vince Clarke has said that the Pro One, Sequential Circus Pro One, is his favorite, his all-time favorite synth. He's kind of go-to synth.
And mine, I think.
Is it yours?
I just love it. I just say it's so aggressive. It's so quick. Like the filters are really fast, and the envelopes are, I should say. Mm-hmm. So it's very good for percussive sounds. It's very, very good for bass sounds. Mm-hmm. And it's good all-round mono synth. And
I see. Okay, I was going to ask you what you love about it, and you've just answered all my questions. Brilliant. Okay, so Arturia. Yep. Okay, because they're one of the newer sort of more sort of in the box type thing. So what is this? Is this a?
This is the Mini Brute.
The Mini Brute. Okay.
And it's a little bit of a beast, really. I haven't used it as much as I would like to, but maybe I will start using it now when we start recording. But it has I've got this very metallic, quite aggressive quality about it. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit weird, to be fair, but I do like it. It's I'm always looking for synthesizers that have got like a quality to them.
Absolutely.
I don't want some kind of washy, nice sounding keyboard. I'd rather have something that's a little bit mad and out of tune or aggressive because it suits what we do. So,
exactly.
So things like this are very, very cool. So
okay, and then just moving on to we got Pioneer.
This is just literally like a DJ kind of filtery thing. But I tend to put synth lines through it. Mm-hmm. I think the kind of the top line on Born to Lie, we went through this, and it's just kind of slightly distorted, and it's I just use it almost like a filter, if you like.
I see. So you've got many tools at your disposal, and finally there we got the Korg MS2000. Yes, good old MS2000.
Yeah. So, again, we've had it quite a while and I tend to use it for very, very kind of straight bass sounds.
I see.
If I'm looking for some kind of depth in something, I might put that underneath some of the analog stuff or even some of the kind of plugins, and it's just a very good kind of standard synth again, really. And it's also got a vocoder in there, which I use quite a bit. So Rich,
obviously you guys are sort of like a fundamentally synthesizer-based outfit, but of course you use a lot of guitars, and I've always liked the kind of music you guys do. It's kind of like that hybrid between electronic and rock.
Yeah.
In the best possible way. And for guitars, I see you've got the Gretsch
Yep.
Electromatic.
Yep.
That's right. I've seen you on video footage. I've seen you've played these on stage. So, and this one here is the Ibanez. So, tell us about these guitars and which one you use.
Well, I've got two of these. I got one white one, obviously, and I have a black one that stays in Europe for when I'm over there. So I kind of use one or the other and change them around. I've always liked, well, I say always liked it. It was my brother-in-law used to be in a psychobilly stroke rockabilly band, and he got me into the kind of 50s guitars and Gretches.
Oh, okay.
And it was because he always wanted one, and you know, it kind of stirred something in me, and I kind of come to like them. So I've always liked that kind of big hollow-bodied guitar.
Sure.
And I just think they look cool. They look very retro. They look cool, but again, it's kind of...
They do, and of course, I hate to bring a Depeche Mode reference back in, but I know Martin Gore always uses the Gretsch guitars as well. Yeah. But also, usually, you know, with industrial and type music, is it the... what's the guitar which they usually use? It's the... as I say, because these are usually primarily used for like jazz and blues and those kind of things. Go on, what's it called? Telecaster, those guys. Yeah. So I mean, these are typically not used for, although there's no wrong way of doing it, but these are typically associated with sort of like blues and jazz. So to kind of, I mean,
they're an absolute nightmare because they're hollow-bodied. When I use them on stage, I'm forever getting feedback and problems. Yes. But
they got a sound.
I just like them. I just like the kind of the way it looks, and
they've got a sound, and they feel a bit more substantial than normal electric guitars, because normal electric guitars can be quite small. And these just, you feel like you're holding something.
Feel like you've got something.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm not. I openly say I'm not the best guitarist, but I just like the look of them. I like the feel of them. I like the way they sound. So it's just my choice.
Well, you know, Richie, you talk about you not being a good guitarist. I'm always on my channel about it's all about the end result. Right. And there are so many there are so many musicians out there who are brilliant and technical, but you know they can't get an idea across. So it's all about the end result. And then finally, I'm just going to quickly switch over. We're not going to go in there, but I just want to sort of show the guys how greatly kitted you guys are. You've actually got your own vocal booth in there as well.
Unfortunately, it's full of
it's okay. Stuff. We're full of stuff. But this is a really impressive space. Can you tell us what microphones you're using there?
Again, it's nothing special. I think we got a kind of AKG microphone in there, and it's only, you know, what are these kind of suspended things? I can't remember which
C414 or something.
4.3 something or another. And it's kind of okay. And then Mark, he has like it's not a Rode, but it's a kind of almost like a kind of replica Rode mic he uses, and we just get the results. It's kind of fine. We're not. So into that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think people do become a bit purist sometimes. And they come and sometimes people go, oh, you got to use a U87 Neumann, and I think people definitely lose their eye off the ball when it comes to, you know, writing a good song, because that's what it all comes down to.
And I think that's kind of very similar to us. You know, I mean, personally, I can't tell much of a difference with microphones. I mean, I know when we've been into kind of high-end studios and re-recorded the vocals, it does sound better. You know, that's why we don't spend too much time. It's almost like just to kind of get an idea onto tape, tape, but you know, onto the computer and get an idea for the song, and then we may go away and re-record them using some better gear. So.